right, traders, it's that time of the week. Happy Sunday. It's time for the weekly review and rev up. I hope you're ready. We've got some action this week coming up, and we also have a great review. But before we get into the review, I want to talk about what being on time for a trader means when we're talking about before the market opens. On time for me means I need an hour or two to get a feel for what the tape has been doing overnight. I've got a lot of lines to draw. I've got a lot of levels to look at. I've got a lot of planning to do. So my recommendation is don't be any later than 30 to 45 minutes to your desk before the market opens or before you want to trade. I truly recommend an hour to 2 hours before the market opens or before you're actually going to trade. Now, on another note, what I also want you to do is I want you to prepare well in advance. Okay, that means making sure all of your levels are looked at before you're ready to trade, possibly before you sit down at the desk. I also want to talk about the distractions. What I want my traders to understand is this. The professionals that are making money day in and day out don't have distractions behind them. They don't have distractions around them. They don't have distractions in front of them. They are in a distraction-free environment. So anything that you can do to make that happen, I suggest you do. I suggest you invest that into your trading business. Now, I also know for 100% certainty, traders that make money are looking at their charts. They're planning their week out Sunday evening. Saturday is for reviewing. Sunday is for planning for the next week. All right, with that being said, let's get right into the daily chart. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened over the last week and then possibly be able to formulate something for next week. We had a big move up on very, very anticipated news and announcements. But if we just break it down to technical analysis, what we have here is a strong run. 20 simple says there's no wavering. On the daily chart, I want to point out that we are so far from the 200 that it's kind of in its own little world up here. And so if we're in our own little world, what I'm looking for is what happens on the tests of the 20 simple, as long as the slope, the rise over run, is positive on the daily chart. I want you to notice that the ATR with a range of 1 is slowly creeping upwards as we accelerate into higher high and higher high. That's one thing I wanted to point out as well. All right, let's go down to the 4-hour chart. This is where we start to get something rather revealing, if I do say so myself. What we have here is we have our pattern directly against the major overall trend. Now, this is a very, very strong sell signal. The quagmire is it is right at our 20 simple on our 4-hour chart. What makes this so strong is the body closes within the bottom third of this massive red bar that takes away most of the green. So what I'm looking at on the 4-hour chart is, do we go down here, okay, to the 86 level? Or do we go back, 5086, or do we go back to 5190? I want to point out that the 50% retracement from here to here is 39.75. I want to point out that the 61.8% retracement is 27.25. But I want to zoom out for a second. I want to show you something. I'm not a massive Fibonacci fan, but what I do know is they work. And here's one thing that I'm spotting. I'm going to spot this convergence here. I'm going to put he's going to be a little cowboy, okay? Our little cowboy, he's going to be right here. What we have is a 1.618 Fibonacci extension from these levels That lines up exactly with the 200. Now, do we come down to the 200 on the 4-hour chart? I don't know that answer. What I do know is my puts that I bought are starting to turn profitable after going basically worthless. I added very small risk in these puts that I have on. They're starting to turn profitable. Either I'm going to lose or I'm going to win big because I'm going to hold for this level down here if we get it. Next level we're watching is roughly 86. Okay, after that is roughly 65. Now let's go to the 15-minute chart. Here's where, if this were the 2-minute chart, we would start to be looking for shorts. We want to make sure, as we talked about in the video that was released last week, we want to make sure that we're looking at this as if we're trading the 2-minute chart. If we see this as the 2-minute chart, we have a complete reversal off of a new all-time high that splits right through the work that they did here. 41 was the over-under, which is the low here. We break right through it, test back up to the downward sloping 20 simple. The 20 simple is now cutting through the 200 that is flat. This right here is decision point for the entire market. All right, so now let's transition into what are we looking for next week? What we're looking for is, do we go down, and next week, meaning Monday or Tuesday, because they're really fast forwarding this whole thing. Do we go to 86 or do we go to 5190? Do we go to 5086 or do we go to 5190? And in that rotation, does it give us our buy or sell pattern to or from the levels which we can trade in between the levels? That's it. That's all we're asking for. We're not trying to guess which way it's going to go. We're going to wait for the market to tell us which way it is, but at least we have it mapped out. Now, one thing I want to point out on the 15-minute chart, because it's easier to see, we are right in the 50% to 61.8% retracement of this level right here, okay, which is the 7th low through the 8th high, the most relevant swing low to swing high. Do we break and start to close down here on the 4-hour chart? We have a GBI on the 4-hour chart. Okay. This is everything that I'm watching right here as we come into Sunday night, possibly Monday morning. All right. Now, we don't know where it's going, and we're not even going to guess. But what we are going to do is we're going to wait for our pattern to repeat after it tells us which way it's going to go. All right. With that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening or morning, depending on when you're getting this. And we'll see you. We'll see you in the room. Thanks.